भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं च नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके। Number 14 onwards. So Swambhuva Manu, while performing his tapasya, is saying these prayers. Athagre rishya karmana ihante karma hetave ihmano hi purusha prayo aniham prapadyate. Therefore, to enable people to reach the stage of activities that are not tinged by fruitive results, great saints first engage people in fruitive activities. For unless one begins by performing activities as recommended in the Shastras, one cannot reach the stage of liberation or activities that produce no reactions. So in the previous few verses, Swambhuva Manu talked about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how it's everywhere, as Paramatma features, the Virat Rupa is everywhere. And now he's talking about activities. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna advises, Yagyarthat karmano anyatra loko ayam karma bandhana. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds one to this material world. Generally, everyone is attracted to hard labor for becoming happy in this material world. But although various activities are going on all over the world simply for the sake of happiness, unfortunately, only problems are being created from such fruitive activities. Therefore, it is advised that active persons engage in activities of Krishna consciousness, which are called yagya, because then they will gradually come to the platform of devotional service. Yagya means Lord Vishnu, the Yagya Purusha, the enjoyer of all sacrifices. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually the enjoyer, and therefore, if we begin our activities for his satisfaction, we will gradually lose taste for material activities. So obviously, activities are not to be given up. Only thing is, we have to do the activities for the pleasure of Krishna. But here in the shloka it is said, great saints first engage people in fruitive activities. For unless one begins by performing activities recommended in the Shastra, so first people do lots of vikarma against the Shastras and then come to the level of karma and then nishkam karma or akarma. Suta Goswami declared to the great assembly of sages at Naimisharanya, Ataha Pambir Duja Shareshta Varanashram Vibhagasha. O best among the twice born, it is concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging his prescribed duties, dharma, according to the caste divisions and order of life, is to please Lord Hari. Means Varnashram activities are the best activities in the beginning. According to Vedic principles, everyone must act according to his classification as Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. Everyone should progress toward perfection by acting in such a way that Krishna will be pleased. One cannot please Krishna by sitting idly. One must act according to the directions of the spiritual master for the sake of pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then one will gradually come to the stage of pure devotional service. So slowly we make progress. As confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Nesh karmyam api achyuta bhava varjitam. Knowledge of self-realization, even though freed from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of conception of the infallible God. Gyanis recommend that one adopt Neshkarmya by not doing anything but simply meditating and thinking of Brahman. But this is impossible unless one realizes Parabrahman, Krishna. If there is no Krishna consciousness, any kind of activity, be it philanthropic, political, or social, simply causes karma bandhan, bondage to material work. And even if somebody is not doing anything, just meditate or trying to meditate, and if in his heart is thinking of sense gratification, then it is not good either. And any activity, be it philanthropic, political, social, if it is not offered or done as a sacrifice to Krishna, then it is binding. As long as one is entangled in karma bandhan, one must accept different types of bodies that spoil the human form of facility. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, karma yoga is recommended. Arurukshor munera yogam karma karanam uchyate. For one who is a neophyte in the yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who has already attained to yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Nonetheless, karmendriyani samyamya yaste manasa. One who restrains the senses and organs of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. One should act for Krishna very seriously in order to become fully Krishna conscious and should not sit down to imitate such great personalities as Haridas Thakur. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur condemned such imitation. He said, Dushtamana tumi kishera Vaishnava. Means we cannot imitate personalities like Haridas Thakur, that he used to chant 3 lakh names every day and sitting in a solitary place. But he was still doing preaching work even after chanting 3 lakh names every day. We cannot imitate him. That's the point. My dear mind, what kind of devotee are you? Simply for cheap adoration, you sit in a solitary place and pretend to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But this is all cheating. Recently at Mayapur, an African devotee wanted to imitate Haridas Thakur. But after 15 days, he became restless and went away. Do not suddenly try to imitate Haridas Thakur. Engage yourself in Krishna conscious activities and gradually you will come to the stage of liberation. So this is what Prabhupada is saying. You should not imitate Haridas Thakur, thinking that, oh, work is binding, so let me not work, let me just sit down and chant, which is great if somebody can do it. So it's not that we're trying to chant and at the same time mind is going everywhere except in the holy names. And then we lose taste for everything and then we just go away. So this devotee that Prabhupada is mentioning, so he went to Mayapur and he made a hut and he was chanting. I don't think he was chanting 192 rounds. He was chanting 64 rounds every day. And other devotees were very impressed that he's chanting 64 and we here are engaged in so many services. We don't have time for chanting even properly. But Prabhupada said, just continue, carry on with your services and chanting. Chanting is also a service. But that devotee, after a while, he just lost taste because he was not in association of devotees and not engaging his senses in the service of the Lord. Of course, in chanting also, all the senses are engaged, but we need some activity. We are not at that level where we have developed taste for holy name yet. Slowly, it will happen. That's what Prabhupada said. Gradually, you will come to the stage of liberation. ईहते भगवान ईशो नहि तत्र विसज्जते आत्मलाभेन पूर्णार्थो नावसी दंति ये अनुत्तमा. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is full in opulence by his own gain, yet he acts as a creator, maintainer, and annihilator of this material world. In spite of acting in that way, he is never entangled. Hence, devotees who follow in his footsteps are also never entangled. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Yagyarthat karmano anyatra loko ayam karma bandhana. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds one to this material world. If we do not act in Krishna consciousness, we shall be entangled, like silkworms in cocoons. So this Prabhupada gives this example, silkworms in cocoons. So cocoon is formed by the silkworm. It's not somebody else makes it. But the silkworm gets caught in that all on web, and sometimes it dies. I don't know, sometimes or always, he just dies after making that cocoon. And similarly, we also create this web around us by our work, which we did, and we did it for material reasons, not as a service to Krishna. Then we get bound. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, appears in order to teach us how to work so that we will not be entangled in this material world. Our real problem is that we are entangled in materialistic activities, and because we are conditioned, our struggle continues through punishment in material existence, in one body after another in different forms of life. So this is what takes us to different forms of life, and then in every form we have some enjoyment and some punishment. Kabhi sukh, kabhi dukh, kabhi khushi, kabhi gum, and this is how we live. We carry on with our lives, thinking this is it. Everybody is going through it, so I also have to go through it. No, Krishna says you don't have to go through it. Get out of this cycle. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Mame vansho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. The living entities are actually minute forms who are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is full in everything, and the small particles of the Lord are also originally qualified like him. But because of their minute existence, they are infected by material attraction and thus entangled. We must therefore follow the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then, like Krishna, who is never entangled by his material activities of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, we will have nothing for which to lament. Krishna personally gives instructions in Bhagavad Gita, and anyone who follows these instructions is liberated. So Krishna also performs activities when he comes, because he says, if I don't, then people will just follow me, imitate me, and they will also stop doing activities. So activities have to be done. But for whom, in what consciousness, that has to be looked into. Following Krishna's instructions is possible when one is a devotee. For Krishna instructs that one should become a devotee. Man manabham madbhakto. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Always thinking of Krishna means chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. But unless one is an initiated devotee, he cannot do this. As soon as one becomes a devotee, he engages in deity worship, Madayaji. A devotee's business is to offer obeisances to the Lord and the spiritual master constantly. This principle is a recognized way to come to the platform of bhakti. As soon as one comes to this platform, he gradually understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And simply by understanding Krishna, one is liberated from material bondage. So the process is very simple actually, but because we don't have control over our mind, and then the mind tends to take us away from devotional service because it has not reached a stage where we start developing taste or start experiencing taste. It's not there yet. So we do these 4 activities, man mana bhav mad bhakto madhyaji mam, and we continue to do it again and again and again and again. And slowly we'll develop taste. Tamihi manam nir ahankritam buddham nirashisham purnam ananya choditam nirinya shikshyantam nijvartma samsitam prabhum prapadde akhil dharma bhavanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, works just like an ordinary human being, yet he does not desire to enjoy the fruits of work. He is full in knowledge, free from material desires and diversions, and completely independent. As a supreme teacher of human society, he teaches his own way of activities, and thus he inaugurates the real path of religion. I request everyone to follow him. This is what the words of Swayambhuva Manu is, the first Manu. This is the sum and substance of our Krishna consciousness movement. We are simply requesting human society to follow in the footsteps of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Follow the instructions of Bhagavad Gita as it is, and your life will be successful. This is the summary of the Krishna consciousness movement. The organizer of the Krishna consciousness movement is teaching everyone how to follow Lord Ramachandra, how to follow Lord Krishna, and how to follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this material world, we need a leader for a monarchy or good government. Lord Sri Ramachandra, by his practical example, showed how to live for the benefit of all human society. He fought with demons like Ravan. He carried out the orders of his father, and he remained the faithful husband of Mother Sita. Thus, there is no comparison to Lord Ramchandra acting as an ideal king. Indeed, people still hanker for Ramaraja, a government conducted like that of Lord Ramachandra, because in that government, everybody, animals, plants, birds, humans, everybody was looked after. And it was so regulated. Well, we can say, oh, he was God. So what was difficult for him? And it was Treta Yuga, it wasn't Kali Yuga. But the hankering can be there that we want to have a government like that. Of course, to have a government like that, one has to become a devotee, like those people of Ayodhya. Then we can have a king like Lord Ram. And the governance was so that if the father is living, the son would not die. Even the death was controlled, scheduled. We can't even imagine. In fact, even at the time of when Maharaj Yudhishthira was ruling, it was still the same. All the seasons were regulated. Nobody had any of those 3 material miseries, or the Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik, Adi Atmik, Klesha. Because a person like Maharaj Yudhishthira was on the throne, That happened after Mahabharat war. So only 5,000 years ago. Similarly, Lord Krishna, although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he taught his disciple and devotee Arjuna how to lead a life, ending in going back home, back to Godhead. All teachings, political, economic, social, religious, cultural, and philosophical, are to be found in Bhagavad Gita. One only has to follow them strictly. The Supreme Personality of Godhead also comes as Lord Chaitanya just to play the part of a pure devotee. Thus, the Lord teaches us in different ways just to make our lives successful. And Swambhuva Manu requests us to follow him. Swambhuva Manu is a leader of mankind, and he has given a book called Manu Sahita to guide human society. Herein, he directs us to follow the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his different incarnations. These incarnations are described in Vedic literature. And Jayadev Goswami has described 10 important incarnations in summary. Swambhuva Manu instructs us to follow the instructions of God's incarnations, especially Krishna's instructions of Bhagavad Gita as it is. So Krishna has given wonderful instructions in Bhagavad Gita, but even other incarnations, whether we want to follow Ram or Kapil Muni or anybody, the point will be they all come to establish dharma and to teach us, tell their devotees how to get out of this material world. Appreciating Bhakti Marga as instructed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya thus depicted the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vairagya Vidya Nij Bhakti Yoga, Shiksharthameka Purusha Purana, Shri Krishna Chaitanyam Shariradhari, Kripam Buddhiri Yastam Aham Prapadya. Let me take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, who has descended in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach us real knowledge, his devotional service, and detachment from whatever does not foster Krishna consciousness. He has descended because he is an ocean of transcendental mercy. Let me surrender unto his lotus feet. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya gave this wonderful prayers for depicting the activities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after his meeting with Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. And look how he has glorified Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he is Krishna himself. But he has come, descended, because he is an ocean of transcendental mercy and given us Vairagya Vidya Nij Bhakti Yoga. And he has given us detachment from everything material, but engaging ourselves in the Bhakti Yoga of Krishna consciousness, of Krishna. In this age of Kali, people cannot follow the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord himself takes the part of Shri Krishna Chaitanya to teach personally how to become Krishna conscious. He asks everyone to follow him and to become a guru to deliver the fallen souls of Kali Yuga. So first, we have to follow instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Easy instruction, just chant Hare Krishna. That's all. And then we have to teach this to others. Jare dekha tare kaha Krishna Udesh. Whoever you see, instruct everyone to follow the orders of Lord Shri Krishna as they're given in Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. In this way, become a spiritual master and try to liberate everyone in this land. The coherent purpose of Lord Ramchandra, Lord Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is to teach human society how to be happy by following the instructions of the Lord. And by following the instructions of the Lord, one will definitely be happy because the Lord is our best well-wisher and an ocean of mercy. They're going to give us something that Just follow this, that's all. You don't need to do a whole lot of other things. And you'll come back to me. You'll come back to the spiritual world. That's all. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave these instructions how to become a devotee, because Krishna gave the instructions in Bhagavad Gita to become a devotee. Man mana bhava mad bhakto. Engage your mind in me and become my devotee. But he didn't teach how to become his devotee, how to engage our mind in his service. So for that purpose, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna took the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a devotee, and he came to show us how to perform devotion service, to show us how we can engage in the devotion service, to show us how blissful it is to be engaged in devotional service, especially of chanting of the holy names. So that's all we have to do. So simple. Mahaprabhu has made it. So I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? Hare Krishna.
And following the
I can barely hear you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, much better.
So Prabhuji, can you please share few examples about imitating an acharya and following the footsteps of our acharya?
What do you mean following the footsteps?
We need to follow the footsteps of our guru and then previous acharya.
We need to follow the instructions. See, we cannot imitate like Prabhupada, what Prabhupada did. I don't think anybody can do. Writing books, traveling at that advanced age, and training his disciples. We cannot do that. So we need to follow the instructions that he gave. Chant 16 rounds minimum, follow the 4 regulative principles, and do some service. That's all.
Yes, Prabhuji, that I actually understood, but many a times we come across that we should not imitate our acharya, but we should follow the footsteps of our acharya. So I was trying to understand on that a little bit more actually.
So that would mean whatever basic things that they are doing. But apart from basics they are doing, that generally we cannot follow. Just
Yes.
like as Prabhupada did so many, we cannot imitate him or we cannot follow that.
So for us, is the only option to execute the instructions of the spiritual master.
And as we make progress, more instructions will come. Don't worry. So they will come. But this is the basic that we have to do, nevertheless. No matter what, we have to do this.
Right, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Manta. Thank you. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna.